My name is Ethan, and until 6 months ago, I believed I had everything a man could ask for. A beautiful wife, a comfortable home in a quiet neighborhood outside Denver, and a best friend who had been by my side since high school. My wife, Olivia, wasn't just my partner. She was my world. We had been married for 4 years after dating for nearly 5. She always smiled when I came home from work, kissed me on the forehead, and asked about my day. Or at least, she used to. It started with small changes that most people would probably ignore. She began keeping her phone face down on the table. Whenever it buzzed, she'd grab it before I could even glance at the screen. If I walked into the room unexpectedly, she'd quickly lock it and smile like nothing had happened. "Just work," she'd always say. I wanted to believe her. After all, trust is supposed to be the foundation of marriage. Around the same time, my best friend, Ryan, started visiting us more often. Ryan had always been like a brother to me. We'd survived college together, stood beside each other at our weddings, and celebrated every major milestone side by side. So when he stopped by for dinner twice a week, I thought nothing of it. In fact, I was happy. I believed the three of us were creating memories that would last forever. One Friday evening, I came home earlier than usual after a client meeting was canceled. As I parked in the driveway, I noticed Ryan's truck wasn't there. Nothing unusual. I opened the front door quietly. The house was strangely silent. "Olivia," I called. No answer. Then I heard soft laughter coming from the backyard. I smiled. Maybe she was talking to one of the neighbors. But when I walked toward the kitchen window, I froze. Olivia was standing in the garden. She wasn't alone. Ryan stood only inches away from her. They weren't kissing. They weren't even touching. But the way they looked at each other, it wasn't the way friends looked at each other. It was the kind of look that carried secrets. Ryan leaned in and whispered something. Olivia laughed. Not the polite laugh she gave strangers. The real one. The one I hadn't heard in months. Before I could step outside, my phone rang loudly. Both of them turned toward the house. Ryan immediately stepped back. Olivia's smile disappeared. By the time I walked outside, they looked completely normal. "Ethan," Ryan said, "you're home early." "Meeting got canceled," I replied, forcing a smile. Olivia avoided eye contact. For the first time since we'd been married, something inside me whispered that I was missing a piece of the story. That night, Olivia fell asleep unusually fast. I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed that moment in the backyard again and again. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired. Or maybe the two people I trusted most were hiding something that would destroy my life forever. As I reached over to kiss Olivia goodnight, her phone lit up on the bedside table. A message appeared on the lock screen. "I already miss you." No name, just those 4 words. At that moment, I knew my life was about to change forever. I didn't sleep at all that night. Those 4 words on Olivia's phone kept replaying in my mind. "I already miss you." Around 2 a.m., I quietly reached for her phone, hoping to find an explanation. But for the first time in our marriage, it was protected with Face ID and a 6-digit passcode. I had never tried to unlock her phone before. I never felt the need to. Trust had always been enough. Now that trust was beginning to crumble. The next morning, Olivia acted as if nothing had happened. She made breakfast, poured me a cup of coffee, and smiled. "Will you be home early tonight?" she asked. "I'll try," I replied, watching her closely. For a brief second, her smile faded before she looked away. It was almost unnoticeable, but I noticed. At work, I couldn't focus on anything. My emails piled up, meetings came and went, but my mind stayed trapped on one question. Who sent that message? Around noon, Ryan called. "Hey man, it's been a while since we grabbed lunch together. You free?" His voice sounded completely normal. Too normal. I agreed. We met at our favorite restaurant, the same place we'd been visiting for years. Ryan laughed, joked, and talked about sports like he always did. Then he casually asked, "How's Olivia doing?" I looked straight into his eyes. "She's fine," He nodded and took another bite of his food. Then I said something I knew would make him uncomfortable. I came home early yesterday. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Oh, yeah. I saw you two talking in the backyard. For a split second, the color drained from his face. Then he forced a smile. We were just talking about the flowers and the garden. Nothing important. I didn't answer. People who tell the truth usually don't need time to create an explanation. That evening, I left work a little earlier than usual. As I drove toward home, I noticed a black pickup truck parked near the intersection. It looked familiar. Then I realized why. It was Ryan's truck. But he had told me he was leaving town for the night. So why was he here? Instead of driving home, I stayed back and watched. A few moments later, Ryan pulled away, and I quietly followed him from a safe distance. After about 10 minutes, he parked outside a small cafe downtown. He got out and walked inside. I waited across the street. 5 minutes later, another car pulled into the parking lot. My heart began pounding. Olivia stepped out. She looked around carefully, almost as if she wanted to make sure no one was watching. Then she walked into the cafe. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe this was all just a misunderstanding. Maybe I was overthinking everything. But deep inside, I already knew the truth was waiting behind those glass doors. I walked toward the cafe as quietly as I could. Standing outside the window, I looked in. Ryan and Olivia were sitting across from each other. They weren't laughing anymore. Olivia looked upset. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then Ryan reached across the table and gently held her hand. At that moment, something inside me broke. Couldn't walk in. I couldn't confront them. I simply turned around, got back into my car, and drove away without knowing where I was going. Only one question echoed in my mind. Were they just hiding a friendship? Or had they already destroyed my marriage? What I didn't know was that the worst betrayal was still waiting for me.
I drove around the city for nearly an hour. I couldn't think straight. Every memory I had built with Olivia was falling apart, piece by piece. Ryan wasn't just my best friend. He was family. We had grown up together, celebrated birthdays together, and even stood beside each other on our wedding day. Now I couldn't stop seeing them sitting together in that cafe. When I finally got home, Olivia was already there. She looked completely normal. "You're late," she said with a gentle smile. "Everything okay at work?" I looked into her eyes. For years, I believed those eyes could never lie to me. I had a lot on my mind, I answered quietly. She walked over and kissed my cheek. The kiss felt empty. Like it belonged to a stranger. That night, while Olivia was taking a shower, her phone buzzed again on the nightstand. This time, I was close enough to read the notification. Ryan, did he suspect anything? My heart nearly stopped. Before I could read more, the message disappeared. She had turned on notification privacy. I quickly placed the phone back exactly where it had been. When Olivia came out of the bathroom, she smiled as if nothing had happened. I smiled back. But inside, I had already begun searching for the truth. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Instead of going to the office, I parked my car a few houses away and waited. At exactly 9:30 a.m., Olivia left the house. She wasn't dressed for work. She drove across town instead. I followed her carefully. 20 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of a small apartment building. A few minutes later, Ryan arrived. He parked beside her. My hands started shaking. They greeted each other with a hug. Not the quick hug between friends. It lasted several seconds. Then they walked into the building together. I sat frozen in my car. I wanted to run upstairs. I wanted to confront them. But something told me to wait. I needed proof. Not suspicions. Not assumptions. Proof. Nearly an hour later, they came back outside. Olivia looked like she had been crying. Ryan gently wiped tears from her face. Then he whispered something that made her smile. She touched his arm before getting back into her car. As they drove away in opposite directions, I finally realized one painful truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This had been going on for a long time. That evening, Olivia cooked my favorite dinner. She laughed. She asked about my day. She acted like the perfect wife. Watching her across the table, I wondered. How long had she been pretending? How many lies had I believed? How many nights had she looked me in the eyes while hiding another life? I didn't ask a single question. Not yet. Because I had made a decision. If they were hiding something, I would uncover every single secret. Even if the truth destroyed me. As Olivia went to bed that night, I quietly opened my laptop. I logged into our shared phone account. And what I found there made my blood run cold. Hundreds of calls. Thousands of text messages. Between Olivia and Ryan. I didn't sleep that night. I spent hours staring at the phone records on my laptop. The numbers told a story that neither Olivia nor Ryan ever could. Over the past 6 months, they had exchanged hundreds of phone calls and thousands of text messages. Most of those calls happened late at night, long after I had gone to bed. Others took place during the day while I was at work, believing my wife was busy with her own job. Then one date caught my attention. It was our 4th wedding anniversary. That evening, I had surprised Olivia with a diamond necklace. We had dinner at her favorite restaurant, laughed together, and ended the night with what I believed was another beautiful memory. Before we fell asleep, she looked into my eyes and said, "I'm the luckiest woman in the world." But according to the phone records, less than 30 minutes after I fell asleep, she spent nearly 2 hours talking to Ryan. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Every memory I treasured suddenly felt like a lie. The next morning, I acted as if everything was normal. Olivia prepared breakfast and smiled. "Come home early tonight," she said. "I'm making your favorite steak." I forced a smile. "I'll try." Instead of going to work, I decided to follow her one more time. Around noon, Olivia left the house. I stayed several cars behind, making sure she wouldn't notice me. She drove across town and eventually stopped at a quiet park. A few minutes later, Ryan arrived. I parked at a distance and watched from behind a large oak tree. The two of them sat on a bench, talking quietly. After several minutes, Olivia began to cry. Ryan gently tried to comfort her. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. She handed it to Ryan. He opened it carefully. As he looked at the papers inside, his expression changed completely. He lowered his head and remained silent. I couldn't see what was inside the envelope. But whatever it was, it clearly meant everything. A few minutes later, they stood up. Before leaving, they shared a long embrace. I felt my heart shatter all over again. That evening, Olivia came home and acted as though nothing had happened. During dinner, I finally asked, "How was your day?" She smiled without hesitation. "Busy. I had meetings all afternoon." I looked into her eyes. I had seen exactly where she had been. Yet she lied so naturally. In that moment, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't just hiding a relationship. She was hiding a secret powerful enough to destroy everything we had built together. And for the first time, I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would confront them both. The next morning, I made up my mind. No more guessing. No more following them. I wanted the truth. I called Ryan around noon. "Hey," I said calmly. "Let's grab a drink tonight. Just the two of us." Sure, he replied without hesitation. Same place. Yeah. That evening, we met at a quiet bar we had been visiting for years. Ryan looked relaxed. I wasn't. After a few minutes of small talk, I looked him straight in the eyes. I know about you and Olivia. His smile disappeared instantly. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me. I've seen the two of you together. I followed you. I saw the cafe. I saw the park. I saw everything. Ryan stared at the table. For nearly a minute, he didn't say a word. Finally, he let out a deep breath. I'm sorry. Those two words hit harder than any punch. I wanted to believe there was another explanation. Instead, he apologized. How long? I asked quietly. Ryan closed his eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen. Answer me. About 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of pretending to be my brother while secretly meeting my wife. My hands trembled with anger. You came to my house. You ate dinner with us. You looked me in the eye. And you betrayed me. Ryan couldn't even look at me. I never wanted to hurt you. I laughed bitterly. You already did. I stood up to leave. Before I reached the door, Ryan called my name. Ethan, there's something you still don't know. I stopped. What? He looked completely broken. This isn't the whole story. There are things Olivia never told you. I slowly turned around. What things? Ryan hesitated. Then he whispered. You need to hear it from her, not me. Without another word, he walked away. I drove home in complete silence. My mind was racing. If the affair wasn't the biggest secret, then what was? When I arrived home, Olivia was sitting alone in the living room. It looked like she had been crying. She looked up as I walked in. I need to tell you something. Her voice was shaking. For the first time, she looked truly afraid. Olivia slowly stood up as I walked into the living room. Tears streamed down her face. She looked at me with trembling eyes. Ethan. I know you found out. I took a deep breath and replied. Then tell me the truth. She lowered her head. Yes. I betrayed your trust. Ryan and I have been secretly meeting for the past 6 months. The words hit me like a truck. I stared at her in silence before finally asking. Why? She wiped away her tears. Our marriage had been falling apart for a long time. Instead of talking to you, I made the worst decision of my life. There is no excuse for what I did. The room fell silent. After a long pause, I asked one final question. Did you ever think about me while you were lying to my face? She broke down crying. Every single day. I wanted to tell you the truth so many times, but the longer I waited, the harder it became. I walked to my desk and picked up a folder. Inside were divorce papers. I placed them on the table between us. Olivia looked at them in shock. No, she whispered. Please, don't do this. I looked at her calmly. You made your choice months ago. Today, I'm making mine. She reached for my hand. Please, give me one more chance. I gently pulled my hand away. Love can survive many things. But once trust is broken, it can never be the same again. The following morning, we met with our lawyers. A few weeks later, our divorce was finalized. Ryan called me over and over again. He left messages apologizing for everything. I never answered. The man I once called my brother no longer had a place in my life. 6 months later, I was walking into a small coffee shop when I saw Olivia sitting alone by the window. She looked different. Older. Sadder. When she noticed me, she slowly stood up. "Hi, Ethan. How have you been?" I smiled politely. "I'm doing well." She looked down at the floor. "I regret everything. I think about my mistakes every single day." I nodded. "I forgive you." Her eyes filled with hope. But forgiveness doesn't always mean a second chance. She quietly wiped away another tear. "I understand." I wished her well and walked out of the cafe. As I stepped into the sunlight, I realized something important. Love is precious. But trust is priceless. You can rebuild a house after a storm. You can replace what was lost. But once trust is shattered, some things can never truly be repaired. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove toward a new chapter of my life. This time, without lies, without betrayal, and without looking back. The end.